Okay, I'm going to show you a few of the orb pictures, and I'm going to bring it in real close like this, so you can see all the little tiny circles that there are in these orbs, and not just circles but rings. They look like rings with concentric rings around them, and in some cases they even run into the concentric rings around another little circle and they intercept. There's that interference pattern. Anyway, and also I want to read to you something that Walter Russell said about the ether. Now, I'm interested in the ether because I think that possibly could be what I'm looking at. And I know that there is a record of everything that has happened in our world, and everybody's thoughts are out there, and they're in what is called the ether. And some people don't believe there is such a thing as ether. Also, I believe that the ether could be what we call dark energy, or it could be what is in what we call empty space. Although, in my opinion, there's no such thing as empty space. Let me go back on this one. That's my friend Harry. I get this little creature quite a lot show up in the orbs, and sometimes he even comes when I call for him. When I'm doing a video of these orbs, I'll say, Harry, show up, and he usually will. And all these little things that look like little rings in the videos that I make, you may have seen some of them. These things seem to come to the surface like they were breathing tubes or something. And I just want to read right now something that Walter Russell said about ether. But first, a little bit that he quoted from his talking with God, that God said this. And here that is. I am of the furthermost star, and of the blade of grass in thy dooryard. I am of my brother and of the mountain. The ecstasy of my thinking varies the spectra of 10 times 10 billion stars, and illumines the ether of endless space. Thy thinking has created all that is. My thinking is thy thinking. So, when I move on one computer screen, it moves the other one. I also want to read you this. Now, this is Walter Russell's words himself, not quoting God, but talking about sort of this very same thing. And I think I'll bring this one up close so you can see all this while I'm doing this talking. Every thought of every person is now as much a part of the international thinking as of an interdependent unity of world thinkers, as every electric wave of the ether is within every other wave. There are no longer any local thoughts, nor are there separate thinkers of separate thoughts. There is but one electric world thought current, motivated by the sum total energy of world thinkers. Whether we know it or not, the mind of man has become universalized, and universal brotherhood is just around the corner. It has to be. We cannot resist it any longer. We are becoming world citizens, whether we know it or not. Our human relations have reached the point where advancement will be impossible without a rigid observance of the golden rule and an awareness of human unity. Unity of world action must follow. World boundaries must disappear, as the boundary between the United States and Canada has disappeared. So, I just wanted to read that which he said about the electric wave of the ether is within every other wave. So what I'm looking at is just right here in my room, in the empty space of my room. But this is everywhere where there seems to be nothing, which means outer space too. And I think we can understand from looking at what is real small what is in the very large. And perhaps this is a way of keeping a record by using patterns, colors, what looks like dimensions of different kinds of patterns and different ways that the colors come together. I'll show you in some of these. Now, this right here is, I took a picture of the orb as it comes out of the light source, and the orb then just sort of takes on a movement of just changing and morphing and making more of itself. I think I have a series of them right here now. See that then they start getting colors in them as well as they move around in the room. This is just in the room. And they will bounce an orb between two different orbs. You don't see the one at the top, but it's up there. I might show it in another picture. But they can go in and out of the orb. See, this one is about to emerge out of this kind of accordion shape of the orb right here. And you see how they come out of the light? They come out and then they just start traveling. And they leave a little kind of a glow, kind of a light behind them. And in front of them, it goes with them that way too. I have a video of this one moving, one like this moving, and I can make this move and go back and forth by the way I hold the camera. And you see it moves by just growing. It just starts growing at one end, but it can start growing from almost any part of itself, is what I'm finding. Now this orb looks like it has a kind of a little cave in it. And this is so interesting to look at orbs because the colors give them the dimensional look. And yet these are photons of light. I do believe that's what they are. And they have no mass, but they certainly could fool you into thinking that this is an orb that has a hole in it. You know, it looks dimensional. And they can look so many different ways. This is one that is different than most of the orbs I get. It doesn't have a particular outline on the edges. Most of the orbs I get pictures of have the little black circle around the outer edges, sometimes 2 or 3 of them. But this one looks like it just hatched, doesn't it? It hatched from that. And you see when they first come out of the light, they're kind of wrinkled, like a newborn baby's all wrinkled, you know. And they're teardrop shaped. But when they get out a little further, they pick up more color and they become more round. And that is because I am usually using something like a glass marble, which will always give me the round orb. But if I use other kinds of glass instruments, like maybe a glass candlestick holder, I get other than round orbs. Now, there's a little thing that runs through these orbs sometime. I'm showing it to you here. It's this. It's a little tube-looking thing, and I see these with the naked eye. They seem to just float in the air in front of me. And they sort of stay in front of me. If I turn, they go with me. They go with my vision. I was outside one day in the pool and turning round and round, and the sun was shining, and I was seeing all these little tube-looking things around me. And as I turned round and round in the pool, they went with me they could move as fast as I turned around. And maybe this is a electric wave. Why, nobody's probably ever seen what an electric wave looks like. So this could be it. But then there's so many other things that the orbs show, unusual things, like look at this one. And if you can see, I'll bring it in close. Well, it's a little too close. There's all kinds of circles with concentric circles around them. Now look, this is a very unusual one. I've never gotten this kind of an orb picture again since this one. It doesn't really look like an orb. It's got all these little sections of it that just kind of fall over like a slide or something. It's really unusual. Sometimes they'll flower up like this. Now this one, this is very unusual. It looks like there's, well, what you might say a ribbon or something that goes across this orb, and it goes into another orb over here to the side, but it kind of goes downhill into it. It looks like it's just falling over the edge of that orb. So while these are massless, they do seem to show dimension, like something could follow a curve or fall over an edge. And that is something we say of things that are physical in a world where everything is tangible. But none of this is. I can put my hand right out where all this is happening, and it's just the air. There's nothing there that you can touch. And often there are dark areas in the orb that crisscross it in different ways, and they're interesting. I don't know what to say about what this is, except to say it's very unusual, and most everything in these orbs are circles. Now this is taken with a camera that has a few artifacts, and I'll point out one of them to you. This one right here, for example. This one right here. That's one, but the very first one I ever had was this one, which you can't hardly see. It shows up better in other pictures. But they have concentric lines around them, so while they seem to be stuck in my camera, in the workings of my camera, still I know they must be something that is stuck in there, because they show up on the same part of the page that the film is on. Here's another one that I call my double jointed artifact. And then I have this one right here that I call a little fairy orb, although you don't always see it real clear because sometimes it's very dark. I have a lot of these artifacts. Over here's a one right here I'm circling. And my newest ones are these little circles that look like bullet holes for some reason. They remind me of that. I'll show you that in another one because they show up better. For instance, this one right here. See, there's one, and then you kind of go straight in that direction. And there's the second one, and there's the third one. And I think there's a fourth one too. But they're little dark spots that look like bullet holes to me. And there's the, this one right here is the little fairy thing. And there's an artifact right here on this edge, but part of it is off of the orb into the dark, so you can't see it. But you can see these rings, and they have concentric circles around the rings that run into the concentric circles of another ring, kind of making an interference pattern. And the colors, well, you know, if this were a record of what would be like a language, that it has very many possibilities. If you can imagine that things that are something are the color represents something, and the number of rings represent something. And in this one, let me go back. In this one it has a big ring with other rings around it here right in the middle. It's like the whole thing is just a series of rings within a ring, which is the orb. Now look at this over here. Isn't this unusual right over here? People used to see these ring-like things in the sky long ago. Many artists have portrayed what they see in their drawings. But I think at one time these could be seen with the human eye. Perhaps this is the invisible, that the visible things of matter come from. That's what, oops, I'm getting all over the place. That's what I'm thinking that I'm looking at. And I just want to go through a few and just let you look at them and enjoy the colors in them. And use your imagination to see it as a kind of light language, because there are so many things it could be saying just by the way the curve of the line goes, or the color of the line, or the size of the ring, or the position of the ring compared to another ring, and all kinds of different things that would describe something different in light if we could turn it into a language, or maybe even music. I would love to hear music with this. Sometimes I get a dark thing that looks almost like a limb running right through the center of the orb. And now I've lost where my pointer is. Okay. I'm going to turn it on pan and zoom. The colors, well, they're fascinating to me. And there's, when you look at these, and I'm going to stop it on this one right here. Look at this. These lines in this one swirl around and make like the letter L or E. If you write and not print, and you go around with your L. So these lines that are in the orbs, they just do so many different things. The way they look. They seem to be doing, or saying, or whatever it is, however one could communicate with this light. I wouldn't know how to do it, but I would think it might be possible. I hope to myself be able to understand the colors and the meanings and the patterns, what they mean. Isn't that one brilliant? Ooh, I got to go through them a little fast. I'm already at 18 minutes. I can only go about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go through these fast. Often the orbs have dark spots in them that have some kind of something that is a little bit colorful. It has greens and reddish colors in it, but altogether it's dark. I have so many pictures of orbs, and so often people say, well, you're just looking at caustics because you're using glass marbles. And I think, no, I know this isn't true, but how can I convince you? Because you don't know what I see with the naked eye. I see these kinds of things in light, and I don't have a marble that is glass. Just using the naked eye and light. And there's so much more to this world than people who can't stretch their imagination a little bit and get out of their boxed opinions about, no, it has to be this way or that. This world is a very strange world. There's my friend Harry. You can't really make him out too good. but I know his shape and I recognize him when he comes along. Oh dear, I'm already at 20 minutes. Oh, this one I want to show you real quick. The upper left part of this photon just seemed to explode. That's what I wanted to say about it. And there's one that looks like it has a branch. And I gotta go. I haven't got time. I'll chance it at 21 minutes that I can get by with that. Oh, this one real quick. It's making a funnel, an energy vortex kind of thing. So these are very interesting orbs, and believe you me, they are something that light does, and I think they are showing up what is in empty space. This is the Dove Lady, over and out for now.